placed on the IR after trying to rehab the toe, but they have now said the toe will require surgery. Thomas has only played in 3 games this season. Also, a little sad news today to report as Raiders legend and Hall of Famer Ray Guy passed away. Guy is the first punter to ever make the Hall of Fame. He was 72. Don't forget, we have Thursday Night Football immediately following them dudes, Nick and Ramie. The undefeated Eagles are in Houston to take on the 1-5 Texans. All of the action begins at 4:30. Those are your Sac Sports 1140 headlines. I'm Jay Johnson. It's 3 o'clock, which means it's time for the Cattles and Ramie Show. That's next.
It's the new spot for local sports talk in the afternoon. Cattles and Ramie.
I describe him as the best, obviously.
It's Cattles.
He throws it out there, speaks his mind. That's cool.
It's Ramie.
He's supposed to make people laugh. He's just an expert at it.
Cattles and Ramie. Sactown Sports 1140.
What's up? He's Ramie. I'm Cattles. Cattles and Ramie, Sactown Sports. A lot to get to. 90-minute edition of the show today. We out early at about 4:30. We've got KC Joyner with your fantasy football answers to your questions coming up later on in the hour. We've got to talk about this Kyrie situation. Does Odell Beckham make sense for the Niners? But first and foremost, Ramie, let's start with the Kings. And last night, it was like a back-and-forth fight, man. That game – and I know it ended in a loss, but that game was fun to watch.
That was a fun game. The entertainment value of that game was high on the charts.
Through the roof.
Yes.
The swings and momentum. I watched some of your recap show last night.
Thank you.
It was one of those games, you know, like you hate to lose, obviously, and how they lost, which we'll get to in a minute. But it was a fun game. The entertainment factor, as you put it, was fantastic. And here's the thing about games, especially like that. Players should decide it. Simple, right? Like when you have players playing as hard as those guys did on both sides, playing some good basketball, Miami without Jimmy Butler, the Kings without Fox. And I thought it was a fun game and a hard-fought game, and everybody out there is doing what they can to win the basketball game. And then you have the officiating get in the way. And it's one of the things that infuriates me, especially at the end of games, when officials get in the way. I wasn't watching the game last night for the officiating. You weren't watching it for the officiating.
Oh, that's my favorite part of the game.
We watch it for the guys that play basketball, for the love of it. And so you know what I'm talking about by now. Tyler Herro traveled. We all saw it. It was obvious. It was apparent.
Did you see it in real time?
No.
I'll admit, I didn't see it in real time.
I didn't see it in real time.
I didn't know if that was just me because, like you said, I was doing the recap show. And you know, Nick, you've done the recap show. That's a one-man band.
Yes.
Like, it's the closing seconds of the game. I'm doing all the things I got to do to get up and running, and on Sactown Sports or YouTube.com/Sactown Sports 1140. You know, so I wasn't sure if I missed something that everybody else saw. I didn't see anybody talking about it in the comments. I had Twitter open in the immediate aftermath of the game. I didn't see anybody tweeting about it while I was on the air. Is that what we call it? On the air?
I guess so. Yeah, sure.
Whatever it is. So I wasn't sure if I just missed it because of my particular situation and experience in watching those closing seconds, but you didn't see it either.
No, like it's because so much was going on, and players do the sidestep threes now where you kind of take that little jump step to the side and sometimes they hop into it. So I didn't see it live. And when I watched it on Twitter, I went back 3 times, and as you watch it, it becomes obvious and you go, there's no doubt about it that he traveled. But live action, so much is going on. It's the end of the game. He takes the shot, and, you know, you're kind of focused on the next play at that point, right? Like you're now down by 3, and you've got to figure this thing out with a few seconds to go. 11 seconds left. Herro travels. No call. The game was tied at 107 apiece. He knocks the 3 down. As we know, Kings unable to tie the game later on, and they end up taking the L. And one person who was very upset about the calls late in that game was head coach Mike Brown. Here he was last night in the postgame.
I would not be doing my job if I didn't come up here and protect my guys. My guys fought their behind off for close to 48 minutes. And to pump fake on a sidestep, and then 1-2 sidestep or hop, and then 1-2 and a shot, and not make that call. To me, it's just unbelievable. And you know, that's not why we lost the game. Although didn't think we got a fair whistle, and I hope when the officials go back and look at the game, they can see it. I thought Harrison got bumped on a drive that wasn't called. That was a huge momentum swing for these guys. And I kept telling the officials, I do. They're all great guys and they're good officials. But at the end of the day, we have to go earn our respect.
Cattles and Ramie, Sactown Sports. And when you watch games, here's what I don't like. I don't like when fans complain about foul calls over and over and over again, especially when they happen like earlier in the game. But when you're talking about 11 seconds to go, when you're talking about possessions in the final minute of a tight game, yes, those, not all fouls are the same. Not all missed foul calls are the same. And this one was egregious because of it. It was
situation.
Yes. And it was also the refs like 2 feet away, man. Like, how do you miss that? You're 2 feet away.
And I didn't see Mike Brown losing his mind on the sidelines when it happened. So going back to the question that I just asked you, did Mike Brown see it in real time?
Yeah.
And did he?
Yes. Because if you watch the video, if you look at Brown, he immediately reacts and says something to the referee.
Okay.
So I think he did see it in real time.
Okay. All right, then. I stand corrected. Because my point was about to be, Nick, and I don't know if that blows up my point. If we all didn't see it when it happened, can we be that upset? And I'm the first. I don't like refs. I don't like umpires. I had a lot of problems with them playing sports growing up. All right, I'm the first one to say something. I'm the first.
You get thrown out of a game when you were younger?
A number of times. So I'm the first, but sometimes I also go, man, these are human beings, and sometimes the human eye just doesn't catch things, especially when they're moving at the speed that some of these athletes or some of these actions that these guys are supposed to keep track of. You know what I mean? It's easy to sit back and watch a replay the next morning on Twitter 8 times, and be critical, but in the moment, how many of us saw it? Now, you could also say that's his job, is to see it.
Indeed.
He's 2 feet away. I'm watching from my TV at home.
Indeed.
Like, I know there are counter arguments to the argument I'm making. I'm just saying every time a referee blows it, and even because I agree with your point that not all blown calls are created equal, even with the severity and the consequence of this missed call, can we really come down on this referee that hard?
I can. You can't miss it. You can't miss that call. And, a call like that with 10, 11 seconds left, it's just an absolute killer. If you get the call right, which you should have because you are a couple of feet away, because you've done this for a living, you are trained to have the quick reaction and eyesight to make these kinds of calls when a dude is doing an Irish jig in front of you. Like, you have to make these calls. And he missed it. And the last 2-minute report came out today, and no shocker.
Oh.
The NBA admitted that he missed it. But Mike Brown was not done. He had a lot more to say. Here was the coach.
Now, people get caught up in the hype and the crowd of and the excitement of the crowd, and they look at what's on our jersey, I'm assuming, and see Kings and, maybe expect us to lose. I don't know. But it's just two, blatant calls that were right in front of guys. And I feel bad for my players. Again, we lost. You got to own up to it. But when you have a team fighting, both teams fighting as hard as they fought down the stretch of a back and forth game, and you're going to, not make the right call, right? It's right in front of you. And then just say, I didn't see it. That's tough, but then give them calls that are right in front of you. It's tough to swallow as a coach because, again, you just feel for how hard your guys work. Malik came off and had a fantastic game for us. Deli came off and had a fantastic game for us, and it was just it's a shame that the game was called the way it was, especially in the fourth quarter.
That's a bigger picture quote. And what I mean by that is I think Brown is attacking two things here. Number one, we're the Kings. Mm-hmm. We have this reputation.
The perception.
Right? Yep. He's trying to smash the perception one step at a time. And I don't know if it's the name on the front of the jersey. You kind of anticipate us to lose games like this. He's trying to set the tone for the rest of the year.
I love that.
I do too.
I love that, saying respect us. I don't care. Yep. I don't care what you think about us. I don't care about the last 16 years. we deserve a certain level of respect, and for you not to call this game like you expect us to lose.
Yep. And he's also sticking up for his guys.
Yep.
You know, that's another thing he's doing here. He's gaining the trust of his roster. He's gaining the trust of that locker room that, hey, guys, if we get done dirty, I'm going to say it. And I'm going to get fined, and we all know I'm going to get fined, but I've got to step up and say something, and I've got to protect you guys and fight for you guys. So I thought not only was he right in the short term and in the moment, in the vacuum, but also big picture, Ramie, I really like this message. I think it is exactly what he should have said and how he said it.
You mentioned the 2-minute report a second ago.
Yeah.
I got to get this off my chest.
Okay.
Because I know we're up against a break.
Do it.
I like the 2-minute report and that the NBA is up front and transparent, but then what?
You
know what I mean?
We can't go back.
What good is transparency without accountability? This is like we find the defendant guilty and the sentence is nothing at all. You know what I mean? There's no penalty whatsoever for this guy being bad at his job.
Yeah.
And that's across the board in officiating, whether you're talking about umpires or referees in the NBA or the NFL. I don't know about soccer. You'd have to ask for a lot. But it seems like across the board, there's really just no accountability for referee. And I know they'll say the best get the postseason game, so it's costing them money if they're not doing their job. But there is no real accountability for these guys when they're bad at their jobs.
Yeah. Welcome to Sacramento, Ramie. Get used to those.
You're guilty of robbery. You're sentenced nothing. You're free to walk out, sir. Okay, great. I was able to steal a win, and I didn't get in trouble for it. 916-339-1140. Want your thoughts on the text line about that awful call. Horrendous stuff from the officiating crew last night. Also, you can call us at 1-800-920-1140. And don't forget, youtube.com, Sactown Sports 1140. Thumbs up and subscribe. We'll get to your reaction in a minute. Also, why was Domas better offensively last night? Ramie and I will discuss that in 90 seconds.
Your home for the most comprehensive 49ers coverage. Debo, Bosa, to our very own Armstead. It's the new spot for local sports talk in the afternoon. Cattles and Ramie. Sactown Sports 1140.
So what was the difference with Domas last night offensively? We'll get to that in a minute. But first, some reaction to the horrendous missed call last night. The Tyler Herro travel that did not exist to the officiating crew and allowed Miami to take a 3-point lead with, 10, 11 seconds left in that game. Poker Pro Eric, the thing is, I think Ramie and Nick are the only ones who didn't see it. Now, Ramie and I were talking about the live action, and we didn't see the travel when it actually happened in real time.
I admit it. I very well could have been one of the few who didn't see it because I was, like I said, busy trying to get up on the air for the Sacramento Kings recap show on our YouTube page. So I admitted that. That's quite possible, but it didn't sound like and it didn't seem to me, again, the comments while I was doing that show, I had Twitter open. I didn't see a lot of people saying that was travel until Mike Brown pointed out that it was a travel and that somebody went back. They found the video. They put it on Twitter. It went viral. The whole NBA was talking. all NBA Twitter was talking about it today. This wasn't just Kings Twitter that was talking about it today, but yesterday I didn't see a whole lot of chatter about anybody traveling.
No. It's because I think I was watching the shot, right? Like I wasn't watching the lower body. I was watching Herro's upper body and the defense of the Kings in that moment. I wasn't paying attention to his feet. And then when he made the shot, I didn't like rewind and look at it again. I just said, okay, well, let's see if the Kings can tie this up. My brain kind of went to the next step, right? All right, now they're down 3. Let's see what Mike Brown draws up. And when you watch the video and you look at the feet, then yes, it's rather obvious. John Williams brings something up here. Perhaps coaches should get to challenge that ref's call, at least until the challenge fails. That's, again, John Williams, youtube.com, Sactown Sports 1140. Look, the challenge system is kind of a mess.
Yeah.
The idea that you can only challenge once, and even if you get the challenge right,
you lose your challenge.
You lose the one and only.
Sense.
It makes no sense. Coaches should at least get another challenge. Here's another thing I would say, though, about the challenge system. It infuriates me. It is just a hair across my tuchus when coaches burn challenges in the first half, in the first 3 quarters. Unless you have a situation where your star player picks up like his 4th foul in the first half or something. I thought last night, and I know what Katie Christensen was saying last night about Mike Brown. He's got the back of Domas, and look, it's a horrible challenge. He won the challenge, but to challenge something like that, it's Domas's first foul in the game, and it's in the second quarter.
That's the thing. Do you want to preserve
a
foul-free half of basketball for Domas? That's something special, man.
I think it is special. It's a moment. It's a moment.
That's what I'm saying.
But it's just one of those things where it's something that drives me nuts across the league when every coach does it. And great coaches do it. I've seen, Steve Kerr do it. I've seen some of the best coaches challenge fouls in like the first half of a game. And you've got to hold on to that till about the last 5 minutes of a basketball game.
If we're taking issue with things Mike Brown did last night, the timeout with 23 seconds left bothered me more than burning that challenge. And that wasn't in hindsight when they had to rush the final shot going, oh man, I wish I had that time. When he took it, I was sitting there going, you really going to take that right now and leave yourself with no timeouts and a chance to set up a final shot if you need it? And sure enough, they needed it. I did not like that timeout at all. Kyle Lowry hits the jumper. They take a 2-point lead, come down, set your offense, get a good shot off. Why do you need to call a timeout? I didn't see any reason for it whatsoever right there. And then they very much needed it at the end of the game with a chance to tie it up at that point.
And I'll tell you, Kyle Lowry cooked them last night.
Yeah, he did.
He looked all sorts of young. Last night. Without Jimmy Butler, he was like, this is my time to shine. I'm going to take as many shots as I want, baby. Jimmy's not out here. Jimmy Buckets ain't out here. Cattles and Ramie, Sactown Sports. Ramie, Domas, offensively productive last night.
He was doing something with the ball when he got it. Not, all this nonsense of that indecisive, not knowing what to do or seemingly not knowing what to do with the ball when he got it. That was what I noticed last night. And immediately he got the ball and he knew what he was going to do with it, whether he was going to attack the rim or take a jump shot or pass it to somebody who was open on the perimeter. He knew what he was going to do with the ball when he got it. And that was the primary difference from Domas last night.
And he attacked. Like, I just thought he was aggressive. He attacked the paint. Now, he did some of that against the Clippers and missed a bunch of shots inside 5 feet. But last night, that was an aggressive Domas. That was a guy who was just willing and ready and able to attack anybody who was in front of him once he caught the basketball within 10 feet. And he really was the epicenter of the offense. Like, that was really the first night where it seemed like the offense really made a concerted effort to go through Domas. And you could tell the unselfishness. And I'll also say this, defenses have yet to stop the dribble handoff from Domas to Herter.
Yep.
They have no answer for that play. No matter who it is defending them, that play is unstoppable. That dribble handoff to Herter looping around, it is almost wide open every single time. And the way Herter's shooting, it's almost a make every single time. And, the one thing I would say is, like, it was great to see him stay out of foul trouble, and hopefully he does that.
Now that I can't
forward.
explain. I know what he was doing differently on the offensive end. I don't know what happened on defense that he wasn't fouling somebody every time down.
Here's my question for you. Fox wasn't out there last night. And I know Fox and Domas played great together last year. But to me, this might be just a coincidence, but Fox is not out there to start the game, and Domas seemed much more aggressive and willing to attack and much more comfortable within the offense. Does that say anything to you about maybe Domas kind of acquiescing and laying back and saying, all right, Fox is the number one guy, and I'll get my offense off of him? And last night it was more of a thought process of, no, I got to get buckets and I'm going to be aggressive.
Yeah, maybe from a mindset standpoint, I don't think there's anything in terms of those two guys' style, because like you said, Nick, we saw at the end of last year after the trade that those two played very well together. The two-man game of Domas and Fox was one of the better two-man games in the league, which sounds crazy to say, but you look at some of the numbers and it backs it up. So maybe from his mindset standpoint, maybe he is deferring a little bit too much when Fox is out there because of all, and I don't know if it's all the chatter, not just from outside, but inside. Like you talk to Mike Brown, you talk to Monty McNair, and they're very quick to tell you this is De'Aaron Fox's team. It's not, this is Fox and Sabonis's team. He's the number one, and then Fox is probably the number two. I think you need to, in some way, shape, or form, let that guy know, solidify in his mind, like you're our number two and you're a close number two. Like it's not Fox and then everybody else way behind following it. Like you need to be right there, right, and be almost a 1B rather than a 2 and go get yours.
I'm not worried about Domas. I think the last couple of games he started to come around. I know he didn't score a ton on Monday against Charlotte, but again, he had 16 rebounds. He had 7 dimes. He didn't give you the 15, 20 points, but I do think slowly but surely he's figuring this thing out. BW on the YouTube channel, youtube.com, Sactown Sports 1140. BW says, talking about the timeout with 23 seconds left, he wanted to get Monk back into the game for Delhi, which I thought the same thing. We might need that timeout. He had just subbed Monk out. What he was doing, what Coach Brown was doing, was he was playing offense-defense. And so he wanted Delhi out there to defend. He did not want Monk out there to defend, but he did not want Delhi out there offensively. And that's the issue. They have some guys that are specialized on this bench. Like Delhi's not an offensive force. Monk is not a great defender, and he has struggled mightily at times on that end of the floor this season so far. Rashawn Holmes isn't really an offensive guy. He's not doing great defensively either. But so, I think Coach Brown's looking at it and saying, all right, well, let's try to play offense-defense here. But it was a timeout at a crucial time, and it did take a timeout off of your, out of your pocket, so to speak, as you got into the very final seconds of that game. 916-339-1140 is the text line. Phone number is 1-800-920-1140. Again, the website, don't forget, our fancy pants website, SactownSports.com. Continue with your Kings reaction. Also, does OBJ make sense for the 49ers? That's next.
Cattles and Ramie. Sactown Sports 1140.
Hey, it's Carmichael Dave here for Capital Casino. And the primetime football giveaway, it's back. They're giving away a total of $500 for every Sunday, Monday, and Thursday night primetime game, conveniently located at 411 North 16th Street in downtown Sacramento, with plenty of well-lit parking and some of the best food in a friendly environment. For more information on tournaments and gaming, please log on to capital-casino.com, and please gamble responsibly. As always, 1-800-GAMBLER.
Nick Cattles saying start your holidays right with the amazing Napoleon Prestige line of outdoor cookers from California Backyard. My Napoleon Stainless Steel Pro Series gas grill. Yep, it's right. Backyard, chilling out right now. It's turning me into a pro. Think outside the kitchen this year and cook your entire holiday meal on a Napoleon gas grill, all made with premium steel that boasts quality. Check out Napoleon Grills today at any of the 4 nearby California Backyard locations. And don't forget, Napoleon.com is where you want to go online to check these out. California Backyard's huge selection of Napoleon grills and accessories. Check them out today.
1 day per week watering began November 1st. Reducing your outdoor watering or turning off your sprinklers for the season will save water during the drought. Learn more at cityofsacramento.org/drought.
Check out my friends at Downtown for new location, new ownership, and
Sports Headlines.
The beard has been clipped. We begin in an association as James Harden suffered a tendon strain in his right foot last night versus the Wizards. He's expected to miss a month. Harden through 9 games has been averaging 22 points, 10 assists, and 9 rebounds. On the diamond, Game 5 of the World Series kicks off at 5:03 with the first pitch. The visiting Astros, they'll send Justin Verlander to the mound, while the Fields, they'll send Noah Syndergaard out for the win. In the NFL, the Saints wide receiver Michael Thomas is expected to miss the rest of the season due to his toe injury. According to the team, Thomas will be placed on the IR after trying to rehab the toe, but they have now said the toe will require surgery. Thomas has only played in 3 games this season. Also, a little sad news today to report as Raiders legend and Hall of Famer Ray Guy passed away. Guy is the first punter to ever make the Hall of Fame. He was 72. Don't forget, we have Thursday Night Football immediately following them dudes, Nick and Ramie. The undefeated Eagles are in Houston to take on the 1-5 Texans. All of the action begins at 4:30. Those are your Sac Sports 1140 headlines. I'm Jay Johnson. Coming up in 15 minutes, our fantasy expert, KC Joyner, will join the fellas. Now more of the Cattles and Ramie Show. That's next.
Sacramento has a new tag team in the afternoons.
Talking to the original tag team of ugly pukes here.
It's Cattles. It's Ramie.
Sactown Sports 1140.
Yeah, fantasy football owners, if you have questions, text them right now. Get in on this early. We'll be joined by KC Joyner in 15 minutes. 916-339-1140. And if you don't text your questions, Ramie's going to ask all the questions for his team. So
I got some this week, too. Injury problems.
It's either you learn a lot about Ramie's team or you ask your own questions at 916-339-1140. Also, you can call us as well, 1-800-920-1140. And, of course, youtube.com, Sactown Sports 1140. MC Calcium, by the way, and YouTube is now calling out fellow YouTubers. Did you see this?
Oh, no.
He chatted.
You got violence in the comments?
Yeah, he has 20 watching, ... 5 thumbs. Laziness personified, he asks.
Yeah, he's right, though.
Yeah, if you're watching, if you listen, all you've got to do is go to that little thumbs up right there and click it. Here's the reason why. YouTube, like all the social media stuff, it uses like this algorithm. So if you give us like the thumbs up and you subscribe, you do those kinds of things, we cheat or we beat the algorithm. It's not really cheating it, it's just beating it. So that's how they go. Like you got to give the thumbs up and all of that, and then you get a little bit more love from YouTube. So if you're watching and listening, if you don't mind, give us that thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe. I'll get to OBJ with the Niners in a minute, Ramie, but a couple of things about the Kings I wanted to bring up. On Twitter, at Nick C Radio, at Ramie is tweeting, Ramie is tweeting, at Sick72 tweets at me, I don't like blaming refs, especially in games where my team loses by 20 or more or some stupid amount, but this wasn't that. Refs screwed the Kings here, but I like the direction of how this team looks early. The whole game was a dogfight, and he puts 27 lead changes. I don't know if that's the correct number. 27. There were a lot. And then he says, I hope hoping they stack a few wins here. And I agree. I agree with 672 on Twitter that, I understand that these are losses, and I understand you lost last night's game, but we were talking about this on the phone earlier today during the show meeting, and I think all of us agreed. Like, this is the kind of game last night and the game they won on Monday. Those are the kinds of games that they lose. And they might get blown out of the gym. Like down 15 in Charlotte without Fox. Last year, you might get blown out of the gym. Last night, without Fox, no Jimmy Butler. Do you kind of take it for granted and not fight and scratch and claw? So, I do think that is correct. 100% from that tweeter, Sick72. Something else I wanted to talk about here.
I was trying to confirm his claim about lead changes. I can't find it.
Yeah, I don't know where the.
It's a lot.
We get a text line. It's official. There were a lot of lead changes. That's what I said. Let's just use that as a number. A lot. What was the number? A lot.
Fair.
Text line 916-339-1140. Hey, love the show. Well, we love you. Can you challenge the travel? That's Eric and Lodi. And here's the thing. You can't. Coach's challenge, rule number 14, section 1D. Any called foul, violation, or other decision by the game officials not listed in section 1C, which lists out of bounds violations, personal foul, goaltending, basket interference. Any call that does not involve that, you can't challenge. So a called personal foul charged to the opposing team, you cannot challenge that. Continuation on a play, when the guy picks it up and he puts it in and they say, no continuation, just 2 shots or the ball, ball out. You can't challenge that. A technical foul, flagrant foul, you cannot challenge those. And you also cannot challenge violations such as traveling, carrying, double dribble, or an offensive or defensive 3 seconds. So you cannot challenge the travel call. So even if Mike Brown did not waste the challenge, and I know he won the challenge in the second quarter, but if he didn't spend, let's put it that way, if he didn't spend the challenge in the second quarter, even if he had that, he would not have been able to challenge the travel of Tyler Herro.
It was 26 lead changes.
Okay. He said 27. Close enough.
12 ties during the game. And listen to how close this thing was. The Kings led for just over 21 minutes. Miami led for just over 22 minutes.
Wow.
And they were tied for almost 5 minutes of this game.
That's insane. It was like a fist fight. It was like watching a fight, a back and forth. Cattles and Ramie here, Sactown Sports. Jump to the Niners for a minute. Obviously, the Niners have all these offensive tools now with the addition of Run CMC, but there are still some OBJ rumors floating around. Adam Schefter kind of threw it into the ether this week that the Niners might be a fit for Odell Beckham Jr. And here was Kyle Shanahan on Murph and Mac this week talking about OBJ.
We're open to discussions with everybody. We look into everything. He's you don't have to worry about trade deadline with him because he's out there and he's available. I've always been a fan of Odell. Like I feel like most people are. I mean, he's that good of a player.
Right.
But I definitely am very happy with our receiver group right now and really love the guys that we have.
Would it make sense?
Yeah. It always makes sense to add good football players to your team. If you got money to spend and there are good players out there to be had and it's enough money for those good players, I don't see how it could hurt. You check out with the doctors, make sure all the medical's clear and have them, I don't know, run a few 40s. I don't know what you do to make sure a guy's still got it. And then if he can still play football at a high level, it's an easy answer for me. Yes. If you can bring in Odell Beckham Jr., yes.
I think we had a conversation about OBJ going back weeks ago before the Niners were linked with him, thanks to Adam Schefter. And at the time I said I'd stay away for now because I was hopeful that like Brandon Ayuk would be the guy who's like the attack downfield guy. I don't know if we'll ever see the true best out of Ayuk week in and week out. I don't know if we're going to see that. And now, you go out there and you get Run CMC. At this point, if you can keep stockpiling and just continue the embarrassment of riches, if guys don't care about targets and the idea is spreading the football around, because the one thing that, unless you feel like Ayuk is this guy, and again, he has not consistently shown to be this guy, they're missing an X receiver. Mark Schlereth brought that up earlier this week.
Guy who takes the top off.
Yeah, the guy that can just like, and not only take the top off, but quick hitter, like an impact player. Like OBJ, look, even if he catches 1 or 2 footballs a week, those 1 or 2 footballs might be impact plays that win you a game. And that's what he did for the Rams when he first joined them last year.
What he did for Los Angeles.
And then he continued to kind of build off of that and get better and better. You have guys right now that are like yak machines and they're able to catch the slants and run. And OBJ is the guy, like, as long as, like you said, as long as he's healthy, I don't know if you have him run 40s like you, however you got to test him out. But if he still has the wheels, he's the guy that, like, opposing defenses will be afraid of him. I don't think opposing defenses are afraid of Brandon Ayuk, with all due respect.
You think they call Odell Beckham Jr. and they're like, you still fast?
Hey, you fast? When's the last time you ran a 40?
Still run?
He's like, I got a video of it. No, we ain't taking videos. We got to see it in person, okay?
Who was the person that had that crazy
T.O.,
40?
right?
Oh, T.O., yeah.
At like 50 years old, he was running like a 4.7. I don't know. I don't know if we can trust that stopwatch. And it only costs you money. Like Shanahan said, you're not giving up assets. You're just giving them some money. If it doesn't work out, what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah.
Didn't work out.
And they have money under the cap.
Run CMC changed everything. Like it's now to the point where you just load up. It's Super Bowl or bust. Like, load up. You gave all the picks for McCaffrey. You got Jimmy G for the rest of this year. Just go for it. At this point, go for it. Throw some money to OBJ and see if he can work out for you. Even if he doesn't work out for the first few weeks, if he works out by the time you get to the late season or playoffs, it's more than worth it. So I would not necessarily now, after watching the last several weeks, be against that move. I think you can bring him in, and I don't think he would be much of an issue. He wasn't much of an issue in LA, and if he comes over, he knows the deal. Like he understands. Not dumb. He gets it. All right, your fantasy football questions. Load them up right now. 916-339-1140 on the text machine. The number is 1-800-920-1140. And if you really want to make it easy on us, you can go to the YouTube channel, youtube.com, Sactown Sports 1140, and you can plop your question, fantasy-wise, right into that YouTube chat. And thanks. People are reacting. We now have 11 thumbs up. So we've doubled the thumbs up. Again, we're trying to beat the algorithm, folks. It's us and you versus YouTube. Let's beat the algorithm. Give us the thumbs up, subscribe, and you are helping us out, and you are helping yourself out as well. All right, KC Joyner. Again, 1-800-920-1140 to call, 916-339-1140 to text. You can hit us up on YouTube. Fantasy football expert KC Joyner coming up next.
It's Cattles. It's Ramie. Sactown Sports 1140.
At Elk Grove Honda,
Need help setting your lineup? Don't know who to put a claim in on the waiver wire? He's got all the answers to your questions. Here's KC Joyner.
He's the man when it comes to fantasy football. I'll tell you all that. KC Joyner, footballscientist.com, works for The Athletic. If you're watching Thursday Night Football tonight, he's going to blog you through that game at The Athletic. And, of course, KC, like all of our guests, come to you from the Folsom Lake Honda Hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. KC, let's go to the YouTube world first with Sizzlin' Bacon. Fantasy question. Is someone like Peoples-Jones, who is widely available in free agency, worth a pickup with Watson set to be back soon?
Peoples-Jones, I've been mentioning in my articles that I write for The Athletic the past couple of weeks. Peoples-Jones is a guy, you're always wanting what I call insurance players in fantasy leagues, guys who can be put in as a wide receiver 3, especially in PPR leagues. Guys know you can put in as a wide receiver 3 or flex, and you know, hey, you know something? He's going to give me a 10-point floor. Maybe I get 15. Maybe I get more if he finds the end zone. But I know I'm going to get a 10, maybe a 12-point floor to this guy, and I'm not going to get a big zero. Those guys are invaluable in leagues, and they aren't rostered anywhere near as much as they are. He falls in that category, so yeah, I'm really liking him on a lot of rosters.
A couple on the text line here has Naeem. God, I'm having trouble saying his name. Naeem Hines had enough time to be a part of the Bills' offense this week.
They'll find ways. The thing is that he's been a third down back for a while, and they don't keep you as a third down back if you just catch passes. You're going to need to pass block, too, in case there's blitzes and such. So I imagine he gets up to speed very quickly. And I know it's by apocalypse week, so maybe you can put him in some leagues. I might just start putting him in a PPR league, so I could see 5 catches, but if I'm not in the PPR league, I'm not touching him.
Deontay Foreman or Lazard this week?
Probably Foreman because Lazard's coming off the injury, and it looks like Chuba's not going to go. I don't think Foreman's going to keep up at this pace over the long haul. If you look at his history, he just doesn't have any kind of a workhorse track record at all. But I think for this week, he'd be a good play.
Okay, KC Joyner, fantasy football expert with us here, footballscientist.com, The Athletic. He's also going to be blogging tonight during Thursday Night Football for The Athletic. KC, McCaffrey, when you look at his ceiling the rest of this year, how high is that ceiling? Does this guy have everything it takes to be the number one running back for the rest of this fantasy football season?
He does, because you're looking at some of his competition, like, say, take Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry right now he has 90 touches over the past 3 weeks. He can't keep up at that pace. Kamara, he can't keep up with the pace that he's done. He's not set that kind of workhorse pace. I don't think the Niners are going to use McCaffrey in a true bell cow sense because they don't need to with all the weapons that they have. They can say, look, we're going to give you 18 to 20 valuable touches. We don't want you getting 25 or 30 in the game. We don't want to wear you down. We're going to save you for the highest profile times, which means he stays healthy and he gets all the best touches, and plus he catches stuff in the passing game. Yeah, he's the number one player in fantasy football right now.
Casey, I've been known to ask you a question or two about my own team when we have you on. And this question is selfish 2 times over because it's about a guy who just picked up Chase Claypool when he lost Rashad Bateman and coming from a Bears fan. What do you think about Chase Claypool with the Bears? Is there any more production there for him or Justin Fields?
Justin Fields has been very good the past week. In fact, 4 straight games of 17 or more points. I think, if I remember, I wrote that in my athletic article. I think it's like 5 quarterbacks have done that right now on a current streak like that. It's rare what he's doing, so he's going to give them value there. He is a good vertical threat. Mind you, when he came out from Notre Dame, when even the Steelers drafted him, he could do everything. They said one of the greatest athletes in Notre Dame history. Yep. So I think they'll find a lot of things to do with him. I don't like playing players in their first game with the team, though. If I can avoid it, I don't want to, because look at McCaffrey when he came in there. They found things for him to do, and he's the greatest player, and he still had a good but not a great game. So probably avoid him this week, but in the future I'll put him in.
I'm a Notre Dame fan. You don't have to tell me about Chase Claypool. Love them at Notre Dame. KC Joyner with us here. He's on the Folsom Lake Honda hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. Back to YouTube, youtube.com, Sactown Sports 1140. Our friend Chris Watkins asks, what's the outlook on Devin Duvernay the rest of the season now that Bateman is out?
It's a run-first offense, so you got to take that into account that it's not going to, he's not going to get a ton of targets. I also don't know about his durability and such. I don't know if he can handle that sort of production, but I'm looking at his cornerback schedule for the rest of the year. He's got 4 what I term red-rated cornerbacks, which is cornerbacks you want to avoid. Only 1 green-rated quarterback. There's cornerbacks that you like. So I'm going to like him as a spot starter at best.
Let's say somebody is worried that Jonathan Taylor can't play this weekend, KC, and their other running backs are Khalil Herbert, Ezekiel Elliott, and Mark Ingram, just hypothetically speaking. Anybody on the waiver wire at the running back position that you think might be worthwhile?
Boy, yeah, I mean, Ingram's going to be a tough sell there. As far as waiver picks, it is so – I'm in one league where people are just throwing massive trades out for running backs because it's just so thin right now on the waiver roster. I tell you, somebody I might consider as a long shot play, DeAndre Swift. He's battling injuries, may not go. The Lions may say, hey, we're going to go ahead and go Williams top. But if they do, maybe they rotate in Craig Williams and he gets 8 to 10 carries in a favorable rush defense matchup because the Packers are terrible on the ground. So I might consider Reynolds as a long shot.
Here's one on the text line. Should I keep Mac Jones or be looking out for another QB at this point?
You probably should be looking at another QB at this point. Just the thing, I mean, I know we just talked about Fields. He's available in a lot of leagues. There's a lot of valuable quarterbacks that are available in more leagues than they ought to be available in. He's one, and I can think of a few others who would be of that mindset too. I don't know about Ellinger. I'm not sure he's somebody I would want long term. But I've been looking at the rates of ownership for a lot of players. Jones is just not a guy who stands out on that list. I probably prefer to have Zach Wilson in a lot of ways than I would Jones, just because he's got more talent around him and I think a more favorable schedule.
KC Joyner with us, fantasy football expert. KC, we're heading into the second half of the season now. Give me a buy low candidate.
Buy low candidate for the rest of the season. Oh, I can think of a few people here. A buy low candidate. Trying to think off the top of my head here. Probably, I'll give you Brian Robinson as a guy who's not been playing very well. The schedule is not unfavorable. They don't have any red-rated matchups coming up down the stretch. He's still the top runner there. I mean, they're putting Antonio Gibson there for some of the carries, but he's most of the pass catching by. They kind of bench J.D. McKissick. So I like Robinson from that perspective. I think that he'll end up turning his carries into more points than he has of late. So you can probably get him for next to nothing right now.
A lot of guys moved at the trade deadline, and I think folks are wondering, when can I put this guy in my lineup? When will he have the whole playbook in his repertoire? Here's one on the text line. Kadarius Toney, when should I play him?
The Chiefs say that they're going to try and funnel him into the lineup as fast as they can, and if anybody can get somebody up and running quickly in a game, if anybody can do that or find package plays for him, Andy Reid can certainly do that. The problem is, Valdez Scantling's been great on vertical passes. Juju's caught up, has played very well of late. Mecole Hardman, I know he got rushing touchdowns last week. He's finding the end zone as well. And you're also competing with Travis Kelce, and you got pass catching backs. Now you got Isaiah Pacheco. So looking at going, there's only one ball to go around, and they've got a lot of guys to give it to. So I'm probably not putting Tony in there until I see him getting more than the package plays.
KC, I know you have some thoughts on Ray Guy before you want to bounce this week.
Yeah, Ray Guy, he was. I did an article for the New York Times back in 2009 that talked about his Hall of Fame candidacy and how his stats were a heck of a lot better than people thought. That the stats held up. That wasn't the perception at the time. And I got to interact with him over the years because of that. And I actually did a analysis for the Hall of Fame voting that they did in 2014. I helped with the packet that they handed out there, so they got him in there. Just a real classy guy. You couldn't have found a nicer guy to talk to and things. And again, greatest punter of all time. If you look at his records, look at what he did punting wise in perspective. With what compared to his generation versus other people dominating their generation, best punter ever.
Thanks, KC. We appreciate you, man. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
There goes KC Joyner, of course, Folsom Lake Honda Hotline, Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. Just saw this note tweeted out by Anthony Slater of The Athletic. So the Warriors are playing Orlando tonight. Orlando's starting lineup. Jalen Suggs, 6'5". Franz Wagner, 6'10". Wendell Carter Jr., 6'10". Bol, 7'2". Paolo Banchero, 6'10". So the smallest guy in this starting lineup tonight against the Warriors is 6'5", Jalen Suggs.
And everybody else is 6'10" and above?
Yes.
Wow.
You've got 3 at 6'10" and 1 at 7'2". Big, long, freakish lineup. And, of course, I bring that up because we know what's happening, right? On Saturday, the Kings play Orlando in Orlando. So that might be the lineup we see against the Kings. And we know the Kings don't have a lot of size.
Yeah.
So Suggs, Wagner, Carter Jr., Bol, and Banchero. That is a gigantic, absolutely humongous lineup for Orlando. And Wagner, I'm telling you, I watched him a couple weeks ago. They have him run point. Like, they got him running point. Paolo runs point. That team is crazy, crazy versatile. Crazy versatile. Should Keegan Murray have closed out the game last night? We'll talk about that and more coming up.
Cattles and Ramie. Sactown Sports 1140.
Hi, this is Joe Cordell with the law firm Cordell.
suffered a tendon strain in his right foot last night versus the Wizards. He's expected to miss a month. Harden through 9 games has been averaging 22 points, 10 assists, and 9 rebounds. On the diamond, Game 5 of the World Series kicks off at 5:03 with the first pitch. The visiting Astros, they'll send Justin Verlander to the mound, while the Fields, they'll send Noah Syndergaard out for the win. In the NFL, the Saints wide receiver Michael Thomas is expected to miss the rest of the season due to his toe injury. According to the team, Thomas will be placed on the IR after trying to rehab the toe, but they have now said the toe will require surgery. Thomas has only played in 3 games this season. Also, a little sad news today to report as Raiders legend and Hall of Famer Ray Guy passed away. Guy is the first punter to ever make the Hall of Fame. He was 72. Don't forget, we have Thursday Night Football immediately following them dudes, Nick and Ramie. The undefeated Eagles are in Houston to take on the 1-5 Texans. All of the action begins at 4:30. Those are your Sac Sports 1140 headlines. I'm Jay Johnson. It's 4 o'clock, which means it's more of the Cowboys and Ramie show. It's coming up next.
Just 2 guys rubbing elbows, talking sports, and lots of other stuff.
They always keep you on edge.
That's really crazy interesting. It's Cowboys and Ramie, Sactown Sports 1140.
So, Ramie, last night, second straight, as I would deem it, rookie game from Keegan offensively.
Can I add something real quick?
Sure.
Because you were talking about I think it was a texter or someone on YouTube said that there are 27 lead changes. And
yeah.
he said it wasn't that many. You're 100% correct. There's only 26.
26. 26. 26.
Just wanted to correct that information that was out there.
Wasn't was not 27. It was 26. Get it right. And we've got Tony Dogs trying to extort people for gift cards on the YouTube chat. That's what's happening over there. So our guy Tony Dogs is something else. So Keegan offensively, again, second straight rookie game, as we would call it. It was kind of weird. So Cam Salerno from the Sac B, he tweeted out last night, Keegan Murray was subbed out with 9:26 left in the game. He didn't return. And Kenyon Murray, the father of Keegan, decided to reply to Cam Salerno.
Usually you hear that sentence. Like player X's dad replied to not splendid tweet about his son. Usually it's like,
what's going to happen here?
Here we go. Pot's about to be stirred.
So Kenyon Murray says he wasn't great on defense. His shot wasn't falling, and he struggled a little bit in his defensive rotations. Good thing this is only game 7 of 82. He might have a chance to bounce back this season with a laughing, crying emoji and a laughing emoji. The team is competing. Every team is banged up. The Kings will be okay. And, I don't think Cam was, going after Keegan. He was just making a statement like, hey, look, he got subbed out, 9:26 left in the game, and he didn't return. And then Keegan's dad kind of got all over Keegan. Said
like, yeah, maybe he shouldn't be.
Maybe he should be playing defense and doing something.
Yeah.
So before I ask you if you had an issue with him sitting the final 9:26, I want to point out one thing about Keegan. He took 7 shots last night. And that's without De'Aaron Fox on the floor. And this is something that we had discussed, Ramie, during the offseason. Everybody was excited for Keegan. We were excited for Keegan. But I try to tell people, pump the brakes about the Rookie of the Year stuff. Because, number one, as great as Keegan has been in totality, from the Summer League to the preseason to his start here, aside from the last 2 games, which he has obviously struggled, which happens to rookies all the time. I'm not panicked whatsoever. But Keegan does not create his shot very often. He's been very good offensively, but it's catch and shoot. It's playing off of other guys. And you and I talked about that around draft time. If you were to point to one of the weaknesses, he's not great at creating his own shot. So he's not the guy that's going to go ISO and say, I'm going to create a shot for myself. And so I think it's crucial that as he develops, the guys on the floor make a concerted effort to get him the basketball. And when he's open, and I've seen him open a few times, and the guys just don't see him, you got to get him those shots because he's reliant on everybody else. He's not Paolo Banchero, who's going to run the offense for Orlando a bunch and take as many shots as he wants. He's not Jaden Ivey. Ivey has the ball in his hands a lot in Detroit, and he's got off to a very good start. So Keegan's dependent on these other guys, Ramie. And 7 shots last night, I need more. I need more shots from Keegan if De'Aaron Fox especially is not playing.
Yeah, I don't need him forcing bad shots,
Yeah,
but
right.
somehow, some way, whether it's him passing up on shots, and I don't know that I saw a ton of that last night where it seemed like his confidence had taken a hit and he had good shots and he just wasn't taking them, or whether it's the coaching staff and his teammates going, cold hand tonight. Maybe we stay away from Keegan. Either way, I don't like it. I don't want Keegan or the structure around him to lose any faith in this kid and start going away from him, because I think that's the worst thing you can do. He's steady Freddy, man. Like there's no shaking that kid. And I think the only way to sort of crack that foundation is to go away from him and to somehow put a crack in that confidence. You know what I mean? Or that unshakability that he has. The one way I think that you might be able to shake him is that he suddenly turns around and he goes, man, that's 2-3 games in a row where I had less than 10 shots. What's going on? Or has the team lost faith in me? Or has my game regret, or whatever the case might be? I don't want him to lose that thing that he has.
Did you
know
have
what I mean?
Yeah. Did you have an issue with him sitting the rest of the game last night?
I have mixed feelings about it because he wasn't great. You know what I mean? And you're trying to win games. You're trying to get to a play-in. This ain't about the development of Keegan Murray, but at the same time, go back and listen to what I just said about I want him to know he's a big part of this and that the Kings have faith in him. Mike Brown has faith in him, and he's one of the guys that they're going to count on in big moments. You know, I just thought of this right now. When the season was starting for the 49ers and they had Trey Lance, I said there was this balancing act of we're trying to win now, but we also have this first-year starter quarterback that we're trying to develop.
Right.
You have a little bit of the same with Keegan Murray and the Kings, of he is the future of this franchise, and maybe even better than a lot of us thought, maybe better than the Kings thought when they drafted him. And you want to foster that growth and that development, but you have a stated goal of postseason basketball. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I think that's those decisions, like the fourth quarter last night, are when those two things sort of come to a head and clash.
Cattles and Ramie, Sactown Sports. I didn't have a big issue with Keegan sitting. I mean, he wasn't playing well. And if you're the coach, you got to go with the guy who's playing better. And last night was the odd circumstance that HB this year was actually playing better than Keegan last night. And the other thing is Brown went small. He went small versus small because Miami was playing small. So it was also a lineup thing that he decided to do. I'm not worried. Again, he's a rookie. It happens with rookies. His shot is way too good. It's not like he's going to all of a sudden forget how to shoot. He's been, for the most part, really good defensively, even better defensively than I anticipated. And to Ramie's point, you know, his maturity level, it doesn't seem to affect him. We'll see if that changes, if this continues. But so far, so good. Another reason why Keegan wasn't playing at the end of that game last night was because, man, oh, man, Ramie, Malik Monk was fantastic.
Yeah, he was. He really was. And I said last night on the recap show, Nick, I think when healthy, when De'Aaron Fox is out there and when Sabonis is clear, you and I have talked a lot about the depth, but when Malik Monk is at peak performance, I think he's the difference between this team sort of being like a fringe play-in team and maybe even a playoff team. Like, that's how much of a difference I think he makes for this basketball team, because that's a guy who I think has legit sixth man of the year potential or capability. Well, maybe not in a season where you have a Jordan Poole and and the depth that they have with the Warriors. But in a normal season in the NBA, I think he's a guy who has six man of the year potential and ability, and having that type of difference maker off the bench, and not just his scoring. Last night he was creating 7 assists?
Yeah.
Creating for other guys. He was a playmaker for the Kings last night. And I think when he's playing within the system, and like I said, at peak Malik Monk performance, huge difference maker for the Kings.
That's
huge.
a t-shirt. Peak Malik. I like
Peak
that.
Malik.
Peak Malik. 22 minutes, he scored 19 points in 22 minutes, and you were dead on with the assists. He had 7 assists. He also chipped in with a block. And, you know, you're absolutely right, Ramie. When we talk about this team in depth and the talent, and, you know, it's on paper. We talked about that last week. Like, if guys aren't playing to their level, then on paper doesn't mean anything. But when you've got Malik Monk playing the way he played last night, man, he changes the dynamics of that bench, and he changes the dynamics of that team and the depth of the team. And the one thing I will say, it goes hand in hand with the 7 assists. Malik told us, media day, what's the one thing that people overlook about your game? Playmaking.
Mm-hmm.
And in the preseason, he was shaky. He was shaky with his playmaking. And I think in stretches, he's been shaky with his playmaking. Last night, that play where he shook the perimeter defender and he got into the paint and he dropped it off to Domas, and Domas almost completed a 3-point play. That is a fantastic basketball play. It's a fantastic move to get into the paint. It's a fantastic anticipatory move, getting the ball to Domas because he read the defense right, knew a guy was going to slide over, and gets it to Domas. That playmaking ability is something that I don't think a lot of people recognize about him. And one more thing I'd say about Monk's game last night. I liked his shot selection. I think sometimes, especially on Monday against Charlotte,
he gets a little crazy.
Yeah, he forces early threes. He settles for threes. And last night I thought, pretty much right out of the gates, he did not settle for threes. And he was not forcing threes early in the shot clock. He took better shots. And if he takes better shots, he's a shot maker. And he should provide more production for this team.
I really liked what I saw from him last night. And I'm still waiting for like that night where it all comes together, where we see what we saw from Domas last night, where we see what we saw from Malik Monk last night, where we see Keegan Murray on an on night, when De'Aaron Fox is healthy and having an on night. I want just one night here soon, one game here soon, where the whole picture comes together.
Let's go like 160
and just see what that. Oh, I forgot about Kevin Herter. I forgot about Larry Bird with the headband. It's a intriguing prospect just to think of how, like you said, 160 points, what this thing can look like when they put the whole thing together in a game.
Beautiful thing. It's if they could all get it together, the offense would be just ridiculous. By the way, when we have guests, they're always on the Folsom Lake Honda hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. An NBA superstar is injured, and another can't stop talking, even though all of us wish he did. All that in 90 seconds.
You want Kings talk?
I'm a diehard Kings fan.
There's nowhere else you need to go but here. Kings games, Kings interviews, Kings breaking news, Kings coverage. Nobody has it all but us. Sactown Sports, your local sports leader.
Hey, it's Nick. Start your holiday.
Trying to get you home after another long day and through the drive time afternoon traffic. Cattles and Ramie, Sactown Sports, 1140.
So James Harden's hurt, Ramie.
What?
Yeah. He's got a right foot tendon strain. He's going to be out for a month.
I wish him the best.
76ers are 4-5 to start this season.
This season is crazy, man. This season is like, and I know we're about to get to the Nets situation. Well, one guy specifically, but you just look at some of the talent that's on some of these rosters in this league and then the corresponding record, and it doesn't make sense. LeBron James and Anthony Davis are having trouble notching a win. Joel Embiid and James Harden are under 500. The Brooklyn Nets have three really good basketball. They have two really good basketball players and a shell of Ben Simmons, and they're having trouble chalking up. This is the weirdest NBA season ever so far to start.
It has been bananas, and if you're the 76ers, I mean, I don't know how you can be confident of James Harden staying in shape while he's out for a month. Hopefully he does for their sake. And I know he came into this season all fired up, ready to go, letting everybody know I'm going to be in shape. But he's going to be out for a month. And look, when you're in the Eastern Conference and you've got all of these teams that are talented and, you lose Harden for a month, you could be behind the eight ball relatively quick here. And I know people will look at the Celtics last year and, they were just mediocre until like January, but that's not the normalcy, right? That's not what happens usually in the league. Like, you want to get off to a good start. You don't want to be 500, few games under 500 as you approach the All-Star break, not in the Eastern Conference especially, but in either conference. All right, so let's get to there's your update on James Harden. We got to talk about Kyrie Irving. So Nick Friedel, is that how you pronounce it? Is it Friedel or Friedel?
Friedel.
All right, Nick Friedel joined Pablo Torre, and of course, both of these gentlemen work for ESPN. Friedel is the beat writer for the Nets. He follows them throughout the year. And they were having a conversation about Kyrie. And here was what Friedel had to say to Pablo Torre.
Do you think his career in Brooklyn is in peril, Nick?
I think his tenure in Brooklyn is very much in question. And Pablo, the reality for the Nets, for the NBA, it all kind of hinges now on what he says the next time he speaks publicly. And if he doesn't answer the questions the way that Josai and the NBA are hoping that he does, it would not surprise me if finally the Nets just said, all right, okay, that's enough.
Now, Friedel said that before Kyrie spoke today. So you heard what Friedel had to say. Look, it depends on how he handles the questions. And if he says what Josai, the owner of the Nets, wants him to or will be comfortable with in the NBA, then Kyrie meets with the media. And here's what Kyrie said.
I sort of wanted to hear the word I apologize, or in your mind, you said I didn't mean to cause any harm. Were you apologizing or did you not apologize?
I didn't mean to cause any harm. I'm not the one that made the documentary.
What are the specific things in the documentary that you don't believe are true and that you don't believe represent your morals?
I think some of the criticism of the Jewish faith in the community, for sure. Some points made in there that were unfortunate.
So the first thing is zero apology. They asked him directly, and he said what he said. The second thing that I have a real issue with, beyond the anti-Semitism and promoting all of it, which we've talked about, the other issue I have is him, Kyrie characterizing this as unfortunate. This is not, the filmmaking here is not unfortunate. Like, that's not the word you use. Like, this is a concerted effort to throw out theories into the ether, and Kyrie promoted it. Like, it's not unfortunate, the things that were said in that film. Like, the documentary, it's not unfortunate, Kyrie.
No, they were lies, and they were anti-Semitic lies.
Yeah,
is what they were. And you know what? I don't know this movie, and I didn't click on it.
Neither did I,
because I didn't want to give him any more clicks or exposure.
Exactly.
It's already it moved. I think it moved into a top 10 bestseller since Kyrie Irving. Seriously,
of course it did.
But he wasn't promoting it.
No,
he wasn't promoting it at all. So I don't know everything that's in this movie, but I know one thing that's in this movie is that they claim that the Holocaust didn't happen, that it's a hoax. She asked him, "What in this movie do you not agree with?" He didn't say that.
No,
he didn't say the Holocaust is real. That didn't come out of his mouth. And also when he says some of the criticisms of the Jewish people and the Jewish faith, you know what he's also implying?
What's that?
Some of the other ones in there are valid. Some of the other ones in there are real in this anti-Semitic hate film, by pointing out some of the things in there.
Right.
Some of the discrimination, some of the criticisms of the Jewish people and the Jewish faith. That leaves a door open for some of it to be, and which of those things, Kyrie,
exactly,
do you think are real and valid, and which of those things do you think are false and dangerous?
Precisely, Ramie. When you don't tell us which ones you think are mistakes, mischaracterizations, whatever word he wants to use, the unfortunate parts of the documentary, when you don't directly tell us which points are unfortunate, you leave the door wide open. So when someone watches the film that you promoted on your social media channels, it's all game. It's all of it, it's all up into interpretation to you, the viewer. And it's just not right. Here was more from Kyrie.
I take my full responsibility. Again, I'll repeat it, for posting something on my Instagram or Twitter that may have had some unfortunate falsehoods in it. But I also am a human being that's 30 years old, and I've been growing up in a country that's told me that I wasn't worth anything, and I came from a slave class, and I come from a people that are meant to be treated the way we get treated every day. So I'm not here to compare anyone's atrocities or tragic events that their families have dealt with generations of time. I'm just here to continue to expose things that our world continues to put in darkness. I'm a light. I'm a beacon of light. That's what I'm here to do. You guys ask me questions about basketball, I give you my expert opinion. You guys ask me about other things, I give you my opinion, and it's met with whatever you believe the perception or the deception is.
The beacon of light who's posting Alex Jones conspiracy theories. The beacon of light. He's a beacon of light. There's so much to unpack with what he just said. And it's irresponsible to handle this the way he's handling it. If you have your thoughts, nobody's asking him to compare atrocities. Nobody's saying, hey, list what's worse. Give us your top 10 atrocities in world history. People are just saying, hey, dude, the Holocaust happened, and you're promoting something that says that the Holocaust was some big farce. Like, we're not asking you to compare atrocities. We're not asking you to compare racism and anti-Semitism. And how about racism's terrible? Anti-Semitism is terrible.
He's saying bigotry is out there. I'm just contributing to it. That's what he's saying. I don't disagree with a lot of probably most of what he thinks about the way that people of color are treated in this country and around the world. Okay, we're on the same page as far as that goes. How does that make what you're doing to Jewish people right now okay, Kyrie? It doesn't, man. It doesn't. Not at all. You're only adding fuel to the flames of hate and bigotry. They're already out of control.
Here's one more from Kyrie.
It's unfortunate timing that we're in, but I'm glad that I could stand on the truth, because I'm not afraid
You're
of
not
mics,
standing on the
cameras. I used to be looking everyone in the eye and telling them the truth, that I'm proud of who I am. Any label that you put on me, I'm able to dismiss because I study. I know the Oxford Dictionary. You look it up, right? It's one of the biggest mistakes I had in being a kid was not knowing European or Western language until I started looking it up and understanding the definitions and why they say, if you want to trick a black person, put it in the book. I was wondering my whole life why they said that. Now I'm 30 years old and I know reading is a superpower because it helps me understand where I'm going and where I come from, like a tree with roots.
He's conflating serious issues. He's conflating different topics. This idea, look, knowledge is power.
In his own world.
Knowledge is power, and reading does give you power if you're reading the right things. If you're researching things out of fact and science, and that's what we're getting at. If you read a book that is complete fiction, how much knowledge do you gain from that fictional tale, that fictional documentary? So knowledge is power, but you have to acquire and gain the right knowledge to have that power. And to be throwing out conspiracy theories and all this other stuff that he's done on social media, that's not knowledge. It's not power because it's not knowledge. It's a bunch of crap.
And I really think, Nick, it could get to the point where Kyrie drives himself into retirement. And he'll blame everybody else because Kyrie's tactic is starting the fire and then you're going, oh, I got burned. You know what I mean? So he'll and I don't know if it'll be this or it'll be the next dumb thing he does because he lives in his own world. But at some point here in the near future, it's going to get too hot for Kyrie and he's going to duck out and blame cancel culture or whatever we're going to call it on that particular day. It's not too far off. Kyrie's days are, I think, numbered in the NBA. I really do.
The NBA finally stating Kyrie's name in its statement today.
Took a week.
After a week and saying we're going to have a conversation. He should have been suspended. This is hate speech. He should have been suspended. He was promoting hate speech. The NBA continues to tiptoe around the situation. It's embarrassing. They're ineffective and they're being reactionary. It's a joke. Thanks to Chris. Great job. Thanks to JJ. Great job as always. Ramie, fantastic. Back tomorrow for a full show. Enjoy Thursday Night Football. Until then, Cattles and Ramie, Sactown Sports.
Remember what I taught you. Keep your heart. 3 stacks. Keep your heart. Hey, keep your heart.